Okay, so here we are. As I promised, we have this special feature right here on Phoenix Radio. Of course, if you may have followed Tubman University today, the 20th of January, signed a memorandum of understanding with the Higher Education for Conservation, or HECA. And of course, we have in studio Honorable Cynthia L. Blindford. She's going to be telling us more about this MOU and what she does at HECA. Madam, it's a pleasure having you.
It's my distinct honor and pleasure being here at Tubman University today, and it's just been an honor to be in your studio. I'm very happy to talk about the MOU signing ceremony and very much specifically about the HECA grant.
Okay, and so firstly, what is HECA? We just said Higher Education for Conservation, but what is it and where did this idea come from?
Well, thank you very much again for the opportunity. So let me begin by saying that the Higher Education for Conservation, better known as HECA, is funded by the United States Agency for International Development, better known as USAID, and it's a $5 million 5-year grant whose project title is the Center of Excellence for Forestry, Biodiversity, and Conservation Leadership and Green Enterprise Development in Liberia. And the theme of HECA is working together to conserve Liberia's forests for a secure green future. So HECA was launched on October the 21st of 2022 and to essentially build the skills of Liberia's forestry and natural resource workforce, primarily to support the conservation and sustainable use of natural forest resources, at the same time advancing economic development, gender equality, youth empowerment, and social inclusion.
All right, ma'am. So tell us how many universities, because I know Tubman University has just signed up, but how many other universities in Liberia are you partnering with?
Well, thank you so much for the question. And just so I can give you some context, our partners right now for this grant include the University of Liberia,
okay,
the Forestry Training Institute, of course, now Cuttington University, Tubman University, Nimba University, AMEU, and then outside of Liberia, we have 2 historical Black colleges and universities in the name of Tuskegee University, Alabama Agricultural and Mechanical University, better known as AAMU, Wellesley Centers for Women, and the University Consortium for Liberia, where I serve as president. We also have, of course, the Forestry Training Institute, and our premier sponsor for the project is the University of Georgia in Athens, Georgia, United States.
Wow, that's quite a lot. And so the next question would be, what does Tubman University stand to benefit from this memorandum of understanding?
Well, we're very clear about the purpose of this grant. So the objective, and I want to say a very special thanks to Dr. Olu Menje, the president of Tubman University. It's my first time in Harper. I've traveled throughout Liberia, but I was just very much impressed when I met him in Atlanta, Georgia, a few months ago. And he was very inspiring and said we must come to Tubman University for the HECA grant. So under his leadership, we are going to do several things with the grant. And the grant is very specific in terms of its goals and its objectives. So Dr. Menje is very much on board, and the objectives of the HECA program are to help build the skills of Liberia's forestry and natural resource workforce to support the conservation and sustainable use of natural forests. In addition to that, as I mentioned, the HECA grant is also about economic development, ensuring that young women also have an opportunity and youth to participate in this project. Thirdly, we also want to ensure that we strengthen higher education institutions. So of course now, in addition to Tubman University, UL, AMEU, Nimba University, and Cuttington, Tubman now becomes a member of the HECA family. And what does that mean? That means we'll be working very closely with your faculty here at Tubman University to look at co-curricular activities. knowledge of the knowledge of your professionals here in forestry and biodiversity and conservation will help us to develop the curriculum throughout the country. So we're very excited about that piece of work. Dr. Menje said we are here to do business, and certainly the grant will give us an opportunity to help strengthen your forestry initiatives here, as well as strengthen your faculty.
Now, at times we have people, I'm not accusing you of going to do that, but at times we have these MOUs signed, and then people come and go, and there are either delays or things just don't kick off. So my next question is, when are things going to kick off, say with these partnerships, training and whatnot, because I'm sure it's enshrined in that MOU?
Well, thank you again very much for your question. So we're very serious about our work. Here you have on, we call, I don't want to brag, but we call ourselves the Dream Team, because out of our partnerships, we might say that there are probably 4 of us who know Liberia, who are dedicated to Liberia, and who will commit to seeing this project through. So for example, Dr. B.K. Robertson, he's our Chief of Party and Executive Director of the Forestry, Biodiversity, and Conservation Center at Fendel campus at the University of Liberia. You also have the new president of the University of Liberia, Dr. Layli Mpayan, who is also a part of this grant. She's very focused on social inclusion and the gender equality piece. And that's very, very important. So she's the second part of the commitment to this grant. And thirdly, for me, I'm celebrating 51 years of this nation, loving this nation, learning this nation as a former Rotarian scholar living in Yekapanimba County, attending the University of Liberia. I also have the honor and pleasure of serving on the Board of Trustees of AMU. So we are personally committed to this grant. And what you will find in the leadership of Dr. B.K. Robertson is that he is working very closely with your Vice President, Dr. Maria Guta, to ensure that we have the right faculty who are selected for the program for training and experiential learning, as well as your what we call our interns, student interns, who will have an opportunity for experiential learning in this area, forestry, biodiversity, and conservation leadership. So it's not just a matter of signing an MOU when we put our name on a document. We are clearly going to see this entire program all the way through. We're beginning year 3 as of October of 2024, and we clearly expect to see this project all the way through to its completion.
Beginning year 3, that's exactly where I was coming at. Tubman University seems to have joined the bandwagon a bit late. Any plans for extension, especially from the USAID's funding?
Well, that's a very good question. Part of our work is also looking at sustainability. And we know that when you get grants, it's really about seeding a project or an initiative. So we're very clear that we appreciate all the good efforts of the United States government, you said in particular, and the American people for the $5 million. But it's really going to be all hands on deck. We are going to be looking for new money to look at sustainability around this effort, and that project begins almost immediately. So we're looking at new funding, new projects, new opportunities to help buttress the project, the HECA project, moving forward, because it will require additional funding moving forward. We're very clear about that.
Okay, so folks, if you just joined us, we are here in conversation with Honorable Cynthia L. Blindford. She's here. We're talking about this MOU signed with HECA. HECA stands for the Higher Education Conservation, and of course it's funded by USAID Liberia. Unfortunately, we are not going to take calls because we don't have too much time. So let's move on here with collaboration with entities such as the FDA and the EPA, because we're talking about the environment here. Nowadays, even on the international scene, you hear that countries are paying, especially higher emitters. Giants like China and the US are being brought to book, if I may, to ensure that their emissions are absorbed by countries with entire forest and vegetation. And where does this put us? First, what is your collaboration with the FDA?
Well, I'm very happy to report that through previous interactions and engagements with Honorable Rudolph Marap, a friend of mine from many, many years ago, when I served as the honorary consul for the Republic of Liberia in Atlanta, Georgia, I established a relationship with Honorable Marap, who is your managing director. He's the chief over the FDA, Forestry Training FDA, Forestry Development Agency. So we have had meetings with Honorable Marap and his staff. They are going to be preparing to meet with us as we head tomorrow morning to Sapo National Park. We understand the importance of this national treasure. We will be staying at the new Sapo Echo Lodge. I think there are about 10 or 12 of us traveling tomorrow for several reasons. One, we are going to be engaged with several stakeholders there, the forest dwellers, forest rangers, and youth, and we will be doing a series of workshops trying to encourage people to have a better understanding of what the Forestry, Biodiversity, and Conservation Program is all about, to hear their concerns, their issues around deforestation, around climate change, any of the issues that might impact looking at, for example, alternative livelihoods. And we know some of those challenges are there in the forest. So we're here to listen and we're here to learn from the people in that community so that we become partners and stakeholders to help save the trees, but also to make sure that families can provide livelihood for their families. And so we're very excited about our trip to the national park. Tomorrow we'll be there for almost 3 days to ensure that we develop this relationship very strongly. So the Forestry Development Agency, sir, is one of our strategic partners. We're working very closely with Chief Warden John Smith of the Sapo National Park, Thomas Norman, who is the ecotourism focal person at Sapo National Park. Ben Talley will be with us on the road as we travel from Harper all the way into Greenville. And then, of course, thank you for the leadership of C. Nora Boyer, Deputy Managing Director for Conservation, Community, and Carbon at FDA, Comfort Tway, Sakua, Awareness and Ecotourism Manager, and Widor Gray, Manager, Extension Services and Mobilization at FDA. So we've done a bit of our homework to ensure that we have the support of the leadership and the community.
Okay, and we have the College of Agriculture here, which you're going to be working extensively with, I believe. Any plans for, say, internship with the FDA and our students here at Tubman University's College of Agriculture and Food Science?
That's a very good question, and thank you for that question. We are so excited about our internship program with youth. Let me start with the University of Liberia because that's where the model will be replicated. So, for example, right now we have 20 students at the University of Liberia who've been placed in strategic areas like FDA, EPA, and I believe there's a Coconut Farmers Union and other locations so that they can have hands-on learning experiences to better understand forestry, biodiversity, and conservation on a hands-on level. So for example, we want to ensure at the end of the day that young people get the skill set that they need to be employable. Obviously, you have, Firestone here, you have Golden Malarum here, you have other folks who are in the forestry business, so to speak. But how do we get our young people work ready? And that's one of the commitments, one of the themes of this grant is getting young people ready for career development. So the JEDI program, and that's the Green Enterprise Development Initiative at the FBC Center at the University of Liberia Fendel campus, is structured around ensuring that we have made for Liberia products that are going to be on display there. And of course, Dr. Menje, when he heard about that, he said, no, I want my own JEDI program here at the Tubman University campus. So we're going to try to figure out what that might look like. We have to have an ecotourism desk. What a better place to have ecotourism. You've got Cape Palmas here. You've got beautiful beaches. You've got the Tubman Beach. I had a chance to experience that myself. So we are here to partner with you all here in Harper, and also for our colleagues to come at this Apple.
Okay, folks, I have 5 minutes remaining, and I am going to be very unparsimonious when it comes to time here. Deforestation. Let's talk a bit about deforestation and whether your organization is also monitoring that, and what are you doing about it?
Well, I'm not an expert in that area, but it's very clear to me that the issue of deforestation is one that not only affects Liberia, but it's a challenge in emerging economies all over the world, but in particular in Africa. So we do know that the forest and the trees, obviously, you cut them down to make firewood so that you can have charcoal and you can, cook your food. Over that particular mechanism. We're looking at alternative ways just in terms of how do you balance the cutting down of a tree and planting a tree. And so we're going to be listening to the folks at the Sapo National Park, the forest dwellers, to get some ideas in terms of what they might suggest in terms of deforestation. We're here to listen. The issue around the conserving of the trees, because we know that people who live in the forest dwellers, they have to have a way to feed themselves and their families. So we could be looking for opportunities, looking at soil conservation, water retention, traditional ways that people, the bushmeat issue is one that we want to hear from them about. But what are the alternative livelihoods that we're offering? That makes sense to them, that certainly they can support, and how we can work together to ensure that Liberia's green forest is sustainable over time. Liberia has a unique opportunity because it does have so many of the remaining forests here in this area. So we want to work very closely to protect those trees, as well as offer the communities an opportunity to work together to ensure that we all have a winning proposition.
Okay, and you would agree with me that this calls for awareness and working with the media. I'm still on this media thing. How could Tubman University Radio be brought on to assist, say, with jingles and promos in supporting that on our radio?
I just really appreciate your position on jingles and promos. What we elected to do, because we know the Liberian media is very, very engaged in community activities, development, right, and all of that. So we respect the media very much. My background actually is in the media.
Okay.
So we want to ensure that Tubman University radio station, we will be coming up, we believe, with a jingle. We'd love to hear from you. Once we meet with the young people at Sapo, we'll be coming up with a jingle jangle that we can all learn and listen to. We'd be very excited to have you to be a part of that. We are going to do social media. For example, the University Consortium for Liberia, we have a social media page, as well as the International Focus magazine. So we're dropping all this good information today and tomorrow, in the next couple of days, into social media. And we'll be working very closely with Tubman University to do a post-press release and ensuring that that gets into the local papers here in Liberia, as well as throughout our network in America, so everybody can know of the good work that we're attempting to do.
All right, Madam Cynthia Blindford, we want to say thank you very much for coming. Quickly, when people hear honorable, they think of a lawmaker or something of the sort. Are you in any way related to lawmaking in Liberia? Are you a legislator?
Well, a lot of people would want to know, and some would know in this town, that I was appointed by Her Excellency Ellen Johnson Sirleaf in 2009 as the first African-American honorary consul in the diplomatic portfolio.
Okay.
I also served under President George Manawia until February of 2023. So now I'm in the private sector. Just so that you know, again, I'm the president of the University Consortium for Liberia. We've just opened up our International Focus magazine office at the Boulevard Palace on Tubman Boulevard in Monrovia, where we have a quarterly magazine that will be telling all good things about this nation. We have an office in Houston, we have an office in Atlanta, and so our job and our responsibility is to share with the world the good news of this nation. And I believe under His Excellency Joseph Nima Borkai Sr., the President of the Republic of Liberia, all of us working collectively together, good things will come to this nation. This nation is important, and we certainly want to be a part of its growth and development.
Honorable Blindford, it's been a pleasure having you on Phoenix FM on this special feature.
It's been my distinct honor and pleasure, and I look forward to working with you again in the future. Thank you.
All right, my 20 minutes are up. We want to leave it there, but we're going to have a repeat of this in our subsequent broadcast. My name is Rocheford Gardiner. Thanks for listening.
We need to be united so this country will move forward. United we will stand, divided we will fall. We need to be